Okay, everyone. I think I'm back again. So I guess today will be like multiple streams, back to back. Let me turn this off real quick. So now that I'm done with the effects, now it's time to work on the attack points and the defense points of this hero. So I go to the heroes stats layer on Krita. I come here. Then I think about it. So maybe giving this hero a lot of attack point may not be good. It may not be a good option since it already deals 8 damage to a player, or maybe that'll just help it. It might just be the icing on the cake. So having 0 attack points could probably be the best. This way, because the effects of this hero is already very powerful. Giving it more stats will just make it even more powerful. Giving it attack point stats will make it more powerful, and it's pretty much slanted towards the defensive side since you're gaining HP. So having more defense points for this hero is obviously more, a lot better than having attack points, because someone that's playing this hero will probably prefer having more, survivability than attack, because this is more passive. This is the attack points of heroes goes to the player when you play it. So, and you only attack, you only deal your attack points damage as a player to things that attack you. So if nothing is attacking this is obviously not useful. But at the same time, when you're dealt damage in any way through the game, whether through attack points or through effects that deal damage, like this one that says deal 8 damage to a player, this actually always comes in effect. So that's this defense points is obviously much better for this hero than attack points. So now the crystal cost. This hero deals 8 damage, so that's very powerful. Gains health points, which is also very powerful. Gives you health points, which is also very powerful. And you get to reduce the crystal cost of the next skill. Okay, that's why I messed up here. The next skill, or the next spell. Let's see if it fits. Nope, it doesn't fit. Okay. So the next skill and the next spell that you play this game by 1. So this could obviously potentially be very powerful. And you can also gain health points whenever you're dealt damage. So that's by in and of itself is actually very useful. Not to forget, you also gain health points here. No, the first time you gain health points, you can also get another. So at the brilliant version, you gain 8 health points maximum every time you're dealt damage. So if you're dealt 8 damage by this hero, if an opponent player plays this hero and you're dealt 8 damage, you get to gain 8 health points and just pretty much just nullify the damage taken by this hero from this hero. So let me see what crystal cost that I'll give this hero to at least make it seem make it balance a little bit. And I guess 19, because not only do you get to deal damage, you also get to gain health. You gain health again, or you can choose to reduce the next skill or spell that you played this game So during the game, every time this occurs, every time you gain, the first time you gain health, you can reduce the cost, decrease the cost of the next spell or skill that you play that game by 1. Or for the brilliant version, you can reduce it by 4. So each turn, you can pretty much potentially reduce the crystal cost of for card you play by this is each turn. So that's actually a very powerful effect, because something that happens each turn that can potentially happen each turn is obviously more powerful than something that can only happen during your turn. Oops. Close this. Let's go to neutral. Knights of Themis. Heroes. So I'm trying to get a crystal cost layer. That's usually what I do. If I can't find a certain layer, or if I need a certain layer, I just copy and paste it from a different layer a different file that I've already created before. Just makes it easier, so I don't have to recreate the thing all over again. Okay. I just copy. I guess I only need to copy the crystal cost. Copy the crystal cost. Oops, here we go. Paste the crystal costs. Close this one. And then I'll make this 19 or 9. But 9 is actually very powerful, so I'll just make it 19. So a 19 crystal cost hero, so that's a 20 cost, almost a 20 cost hero. But it gets to deal 8 damage to a player right when you play, so you can pretty much just win the game from this if you have no way to deal 8 damage. And you can play the same hero multiple times, up to 3 times. So you deal 8 damage the first time you play this hero. So you can deal 8 damage the first time you play this hero. And then you play it 3 times in a row. Or, play 1 turn, your next turn you play it again, and then you play it again. You've dealt 24 damage. That's 24 damage that you've dealt from playing this hero 3 times in 3 of your turns. And the maximum health, the health that players start with is only 27. So this hero itself could pretty much win you the game if played right. So deal 8 damage to a player. This is actually, I actually like this hero. It's powerful. Okay. Cards. Neutral. Knights of Themis. It's powerful right from the get-go, and also is very, it also has a very useful effect. And it's actually pretty unique. So you can actually create something unique from this, create a unique, that's pretty much the theme of the game. Each hero is supposed to have its own unique gameplay. Each hero itself, like the theme of the hero is supposed to have its own unique gameplay. And there's 7 different versions of the heroes, minimum. So I usually, when I release an expansion, I usually create like 4 to 7 different versions of the hero. And then later on, after I've released almost all the cards of the expansion, or most of the cards of the expansion, I create more heroes of those of the expansion and release them again. So there are always 2 sets of heroes that I'll release. And each hero, each copy of a hero also has its own unique play style that you can play, that you can play towards. So not only does the hero itself, the hero's theme also have its own unique play style, each hero's copy also have its own unique play style. So it gives you more freedom on how to play, how to play the game, and makes the game a lot more fun when you have so many choices to choose from. And when you're playing against somebody else, you're not, it's not like, okay, every single thing that's gonna pop up, because there are only so many cards they can choose from in the game. With this game, every time you play against a new player, there's always something new to experience. Something that you've never experienced before. You never played against, you never guarded against, and then wow, it just explodes in front of you. So that's pretty much the theme of the game, to give you as many options as possible. So Gravid, hero. Let's call it 7. I'll just leave that Gravid, the unkind, because I like the name. Okay. So I'm still thinking about this though. About the 5 or more mark cards. I could just make it 1 or more mark cards. That'll make it even more powerful than it already is. So I guess I'll just leave that 5 or more mark cards. Because leaving it at 1 or more mark cards will make it easier for you to for you to get this effect going. But at the same time, it means that almost every time you play this hero, you always deal 8 damage, which is very powerful. You can pretty much just win the game off this hero itself. But at the same time, it costs 20 crystal. It has a 20 crystal cost, so it takes a lot to get to 20 crystal cost. But this expansion itself brings a bunch of cards that makes it easier for you to get to 20, 30, 40, 50 crystal costs. So I haven't really played most of the cards of this expansion, so I really can't tell how powerful, how easy it is to get to 20 crystal costs from this expansion. But from the previous expansions, it's actually not. It's not that easy to get to 20 crystal costs. It takes a while. Oops. Let me pause my stream real quick. Okay. Now for the brilliant version. Oops. So it's 8, 9, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I can make it 11. So I could increase this, then and also decrease that. Oops. And then naturally I have to increase this. Increase this. So it's the same cost, but now the effect is actually a lot more powerful. So this is why the brilliant version, and you can choose. You don't have to have a common version in your deck. You can have all brilliant versions in your deck, so you deal 11 damage in a turn. But so I can leave it this way. And this is a very powerful. This is a very powerful hero. I think I'm 8. Yeah, it's the common version is 8. The rare version is 9. If I increase it, because it goes ascending order from common, rare, unique, and brilliant. Brilliant versions are always the most powerful. So a common version deals 8 damage. The rare version deals 9 damage. The unique version deals 10 damage. The brilliant version deals 11. Or I can just reduce the number of marked cards required and leave the damage dealt to 8. Or I think this is fine too. I'll have to come back to it to see, if I need to change things again. Cause it's still a 20 cost. I guess 20 cost deal 11 damage isn't too bad, I guess. Cause players also have defense points that it can have. So there are ways to, go against this. There are ways to, mitigate the damage that you take, that you're dealt. So let's go for the unique version. So the unique version, so it's control 2 or more. This is 10. Then this is 3. You wonder why, if the brilliant version is already so powerful, why do I need the, common, rare, or unique versions? But you'll find out that you can only have so many brilliant cards in your deck before the deck becomes very awkward to play and very annoying to play. So you really just have to balance out. You really have to balance out what cards in your deck are brilliant and what cards in your deck are common, rare, or unique. If you just put a bunch of powerful cards in your deck, you realize that you can't play most of your cards, because you can only have 2 brilliant cards on the board. So if your deck is filled with brilliant cards, yes, they're powerful, but each time you play a card, you have to replace a brilliant card that's already on your board. So at most, you can only have 2 brilliant cards compared to 4 unique cards, 8 rare cards, and then 17 common cards. So you can either choose quantity or quality, and that's pretty much what the game is about. You get to choose which, whether your deck is focused more on quality or it's focused more on quantity. And there's no real right, way to play it or build a deck. It just pretty much just depends on the deck itself and what the player actually wants from the deck. I think this effect might be the reason why it's cost. Yeah, this effect is one of the main reason, and these 2 effects are the main reason why it costs 20. Because being able to deal 20 damage, 11 damage, all at once is actually very powerful. Even though there's a clause which is 1 or more, or 3 or more, or 5 or more. And being able to reduce the critical cost of the next skill or spell that you play this game by 1 or more is also a very powerful effect. Okay, so now let's move on to the next hero. Then this hero is actually a bit easier, because it has no war cry, but it may not be easier just because I say it is. So cards under your control. Gain relentless while they are under your control. So relentless simply means that effects that destroy cards, Effects that destroy cards can destroy a card with Relentless. And there's a cards, usually marked cards can be destroyed. Most effects that get rid of marked cards are effects that destroy marked cards. So since they can be, with this effect, it means that you can have as many marked cards on your side, and they can be destroyed by your opponent player. So it's pretty much like a safety, a safety, a hero that pretty much just helps the marked archetype of the game, which is pretty much the theme of the hero in the first place, which is pretty much just helping, marked card themed hero, where the hero itself can mark cards, and the more marked cards you have, the more powerful the hero becomes, and the easier it is for you to play the hero. So let's start the next effect. The first time that a marked card under your control is removed. Battlefield each turn. So they can be removed by cards that you play. They can be removed from cards that you play. They can be removed when you replace cards on your side, when you've reached the maximum amount of cards. There are many ways that cards can be removed from the battlefield without them being killed or destroyed. Look at the top card of your deck. You may expose, and the expose keyword just means show it to every other players, so that you can at least see what that card is. So you may expose it or show it to your players. Show it to all players. Add it to your hand. Then reduce its crystal cost by 1. So it's really not that, it doesn't seem like it's that powerful, but Relentless just means it can be destroyed. Right now there aren't that many destroy effects in the game, but there are a lot of kill effects. So when a card is destroyed, a card that is destroyed is different from a card that is killed. When a card is killed, it dies. When a card is destroyed, it's not considered a card that dies. It is just moved from wherever it is on the board, on the game board, into its player's mortuary. So a card can only be killed on the battlefield, while a card can be destroyed anywhere in the game, on the game board. So that's the two differences between kill and destroy. So the effects isn't too powerful, I think. So I'm thinking about increasing this the defense points of this hero. So in 1 attack point hero with 9 defense points. That means when it'll take before you can if you play this hero with 9 defense points, that means something has to deal 10 or more damage to you before you can be dealt damage. So if something deals 9 damage to you, the first time something deals That means during the sorry about that. During the turn, someone has to someone has to at least deal 9 or more damage to you before you can start taking damage. That means if during the course of a turn, someone deals 8 damage to you, you won't be dealt damage until all 9 defense points of this hero are reduced to 0 for that turn. Then the next turn, you have 9 defense points again to work with. So each turn you have 9 defense points to work with. That has to be removed before you can be dealt damage, which is actually very powerful. So I'm still thinking about it because this effect is powerful, yes, but there aren't that many cards that destroy cards in this expansion. I mean, in this Knights of Tempest expansion, there are cards that destroy cards, but right now in the game, there aren't that many cards that have destroy effects that target cards on the battlefield. So this effect may not be that useful, but that's much of the thing about the game though. Having this effect just means that whenever I created a lot of cards that have destroy effects, this hero could become very powerful later on. But right now it might not seem that way because I don't have that many there aren't that many destroy effects in the game, so it's not really that powerful right now, but it could potentially be very powerful. So cards on your control on the battlefield gain relentless while they're under your control. Okay, I'll leave it like this. And probably it doesn't need that. It probably doesn't need that extra attack points. So let me see. Yeah, I don't think it needs that extra attack points. Just the defense alone is very powerful. Okay. But I'll just give it to it anyways. Now for the crystal costs. So the crystal cost, that crystal cost obviously from the last hero that I worked on, with 9 defense points, which is very useful, and cards under your control gain relentless. And you may, but this is this effect also is very conditional, because with relentless, it's gonna be hard to get your cards marked to begin with. I mean, yeah, it's very hard to get your card removed from the battlefield to begin with, unless the card is killed, or they're just outright moved from the battlefield back into your hand, or into your deck, or into your mortuary, which is different from kill, because kill just signifies a whole different mechanic in and of itself. So this is conditional. This is also conditional. But it has 9 defense points, which is very useful, and 1 attack points to get rid of 0 attack point, 1 attack points, 1 health points, creatures that are annoying if you have no way to deal with them. So having this 1 attack points can help you deal with 1 attack point creatures from attacking you. Just stop them from attacking you. So let me think. Yeah, it's not really too powerful of a hero, so I'll reduce its crystal cost down by 4. I think that's 4, right? No, I think that's 5 or 6. I think it's 6. So I reduce it down by 6. Yeah, 6 plus 3 is 7. I mean, 3 plus 6 plus 3 is 9. Sorry about that. So I reduce it to 13. So 13 costs, gain, this is pretty much just health points, extra health points every turn. So having it be 13 costs isn't too bad. So I'll leave it like this for now. So 13 costs, I can either leave it at 13 costs or increase it from 19 to 21. But I think I like it the way it is, because the effects really aren't that useful, and they're very conditional. So it makes it very hard for you to get, to get it to begin with, to get it working to begin with. So let's start with Graveyard 1. So let me save the comment. This is the comment version. And you just call it 1. And then and that's why it's probably 13. That's why I made it 13, is because usually each version is increased by 1. The stats, the numbers are increased by 1, but this only has 1 number here. So the brilliant version and the common version aren't that different in terms of, in the power level. So the card itself really isn't that powerful, but it can potentially be very powerful. But for the most part, it probably isn't. That's why it costs 13. And 13 doesn't seem like, it's also a very high cost, because it could be 1. The crystal cost ranges from 0 to infinity, technically. So 13 cost here is also it's a high cost hero, but it has 9 defense points. So I think that pretty much warrants a 13 cost, a 10 cost plus crystal cost. So I'll just turn this to 4. So if you can get this working, every time a mark card is removed from the battlefield, a mark card that it's under your control is moved from the battlefield, you can look at the top card of your deck, add it to your hand, then reduce this crystal cost by 4. But the thing is, like I said, this is also pretty conditional, because if the top card of your hand of your deck is in a card that has a crystal cost, this effect is useless. But this effect, Relentless, just because there could potentially be effects that destroy all cards on the battlefield. So if all the cards under your control have Relentless, meaning they can be destroyed, this card can be potentially very powerful. So you can pretty much destroy every other player's cards while your cards are still there. So the effect is powerful, but it's also very conditional. Okay. Now for the unique version, and it's pretty easy to create the different versions. All I have to do is pretty much just change actually no, sometimes it's actually complicated determining what to increase. I could leave this part all the same and just increase the stats of the hero. I could pretty much leave everything here the same and just reduce or increase. Obviously I won't increase it. I can just reduce the crystal cost of this hero, so it's easier to play, but everything else remains the same. So I can just keep this exactly the same the way it is in the common version, and then the brilliant version could be reduced by 4. So it'll cost 9 to play this hero. But at the same time, the lower the cost, the more powerful the card actually becomes, because each crystal of a hero actually matters a lot. Each crystal of a card matters a lot, especially when you're talking about heroes, because they have effects that may not seem very powerful, but once you start playing it, you realize how game breaking they really are. Same with the stats. Each stat increase actually has a huge difference on your survivability and the amount of damage that you actually can deal or can take. So rare. There we go. And now for the next hero. I think, yeah, that's the that's the second one that I've created, but that's the first. That's Gravy there first. Now let's work on the second hero, the third hero for today. Okay, starts off with an effect that says, "You are angry." Because naturally, the card is themed around anger, because he's the Knight of Anger. The Knight of Them is anger. So naturally, it'll naturally have he'll naturally have an effect that has to do with anger. So you're angry while this hero is under your control. Let's see. Under your control on the battlefield. And I think I've forgotten what angry signifies. So let me go back real quick to my notepad to check. Okay, so angry just signifies that when you're the first time you're dealt damage in a turn. Okay, let me rephrase it. The first time that you're dealt damage during an opponent's player's turn, you can deal 1 damage to a player to an opponent player you're choosing. So that could be, you can be dealt damage from players attacking you. I mean, from creatures attacking you. You can be dealt damage from leaders attacking you. And you can also be dealt damage from effects that deal damage, like this one, like this one itself that says deal 1 damage to an opponent player you're choosing. So it's pretty much like a reflective effect that only triggers when you're dealt damage. So it's not really too powerful, but it can slowly wear down your opponent. Okay, now let's work on the effects of the card. I mean the abilities of the secondary effects of the card. And one of the effects is, oops, sorry about that. One of the effects is the first time, oops, there you go. The first time that you are dealt damage each turn, give an enemy creature, oops, let me just finish it up. Enemy creature -1 health point. So the first time you're dealt damage, during an opponent's player's turn, you can deal 1 damage to that player, to another opponent player, and you can also give a creature -1 health points, which it's different from dealing damage. When you give a creature -1 health points, as opposed to dealing 1 damage to that creature, when you deal a damage to the creature or to a player, the damage must be deducted from the defense points of that player before it can be deducted from the player's health points, or the creature's health point, or the leader's health point. But when you give a player -1 health point, or you give a creature or leader -1 health points, it is pretty much directly removed from that player's health points. So even if the player has 9 defense points, when you give that player -1 health points, it's just removed immediately from that player's health points. So it bypasses defense. So this card is very powerful. This effect is very powerful when you want to deal with a creature that has a lot of defense points and you have no way to get through that defense point. You can just remove their health points immediately. Okay. Then the next effect of the hero is when creatures attack you during opponent player's turn, give a player. So this could be you, it could be, you know, a team member, or it could be an opponent player. You can give it +1 health points. Obviously you won't give an opponent player +1 health points. Then also gain +1 defense points until the end of the turn. So you can see how this hero is a bit more defensive than the other. Than I guess if you watch the previous stream, you can see how this hero is obviously more defensive than the other heroes. And that's pretty much the theme. I had the theme of this hero to be a hero that has a lot of healing mechanisms. So not only does this cards get more powerful as the cards are marked, the cards are also, the heroes themselves help you stay alive much longer. So let me try to manipulate this so it doesn't look as, you know, weird. So that doesn't work. I guess I just leave it like the way it is. It's not too bad. Oops. It's actually very bad. Okay. Yeah, I think I just leave it like this. It's kind of weird with empty spaces between, you know, within sentences. So yeah, I guess I'll work on it a bit. Each turn. Players. Yeah, this is a bit better. Yeah, I just maybe increase it a bit. Increase the box a bit. Widen the box a bit. So, you know, it kind of looks a bit better when you're reading it. And now that I have the effects done, let me make sure I've actually, you know, spelled everything right. So you're angry while this hero is under your control on the battlefield. Check. If you control lightning or light domain, so this hero is more focused on both lightning and light. So you can choose whichever domain you want to work with. And let me show you again for, you know, for people that haven't seen the previous stream. Let me show you what a domain looks like. So let's work on anger, Temple of Anger. Here we go. So this is the domain for this hero that's themed around this hero. So Temple of Anger, give a creature +1 attack points. I forgot to put the period. That's where I messed up. Okay, I guess it's okay. It'll just be so give a creature +1 attack points. And then let me show you the creatures. This is a creature. Let me show you this one. This is a creature. And you see how it has attack points, defense points, and health points. And this is a leader. You can see how it's boxed differently. It's boxed like a hero because leaders and heroes are played in the same position. I mean, leaders and heroes are played in different positions than creatures. There's a specific section just for creatures on the game, on the game board. On each player side of the game board, there's a creature zone. There's a command zone where you can play leaders. You can play formation spells or skills. And then there's domains. And then there's the crystals side where you can play heroes and crystals. So leaders are pretty much just like mini heroes. That's what I like to call them. But obviously not mini heroes, because they actually have some will have high crystal cost, but they're designed to further, help define a domain or a set of domains. Creatures are pretty much more neutral, domain neutral. Heroes are based on specific domains. Leaders are also based off specific domains. Like this leader is a lightning and fire domain leader. This hero is a lightning and light domain hero. And the creature is pretty much just a creature. It doesn't have its own. It doesn't have a specific. But some creatures can. Some great creatures can. While the heroes are always. They can, but they don't have to. While the heroes are pretty much they're always domain based, and the leaders are always domain based. Like this one is just a fire domain leader. Has quick. That means it can attack the same turn that it's played. When this leader attacks, subdue up to 3 enemy creatures. That means deactivate all their effects, then set their their stat points to 0, 0, 1. So this is a very powerful effect. That's why it costs 16. And then the life for I guess it's a fire and light. But this is a fire and lightning, so I have to look for the fire and lightning hero for you. And when this leader attacks, deal 3 damage to deal 3 damage to an enemy creature or leader or enemy leader. So it has 3 attack points, but leaders usually tend to have very low, defense points and health points, simply because their effects are very powerful. And they're pretty much designed for you to pretty much protect them. They're pretty much the type of cards that need more protection than other cards, because when left unchecked, they can pretty much be very game breaking. So leaders are pretty much something that you need to get rid of as soon as possible. So light and fire, this is the leader that I'm looking for. This is just a fire leader. I've already checked this one. Lightning and fire. I guess this is probably it. Oh, this is just lightning. That's interesting. So lightning and fire. I guess I didn't have a lightning and light. Okay, so I have lightning, fire, and light. Okay. So this one is lightning, fire, and light. So I guess you can choose two effects. So it's not too bad. When a spell first enters the battlefield under your control during your turn, add up to 3 regular token copies of a creature you control to your hand. At the end of each turn, modify a creature on the battlefield by 3. So pretty much you can see that leaders are pretty much just domain based, domain specific, while creatures are pretty much more neutral, and heroes are more domain specific as well, because the expansions are usually based off the heroes, and the heroes are based off certain domains, and then every other card of the expansion are based off those domains and the theme of that hero or those heroes. So now let's get back to this Gravy There hero. Let's see if I can finish it up. So I've done the effects. Now I have to work on the defense points and the attack points. So the effects is actually relatively powerful, I think, because you can't really be too sure unless it's, you know, obviously very powerful and you can pretty much just see it. So this only triggers when you're dealt damage. So if you're not dealt damage, nothing happens. Same with this effect, angry. If you're not dealt damage, nothing happens. And then let me look at the effect again, just to make sure. When creatures attack you, okay, that's why I messed up here, because I knew there was something missing. It's not just when creatures attack, but when creatures attack you during an opponent player's turn. Okay. Gain +1 defense point. When creatures attack you during an opponent player's turn, give a player +1 health points. Then also gain, and let me just be more specific. Also give yourself. That way, you know, players aren't guessing. Players aren't guessing during the game what actually means. Also give yourself. Also give yourself +1 defense points until the end of the turn. Okay, this looks